Good afternoon, I'm Rex Robinson with the Times Weekly, and I'm here this afternoon with Pete DeLaney, who is running for mayor of Crest Hill against incumbent Ray Solomon. Welcome, Pete.
Good afternoon, Rex.
So, what made you decide to throw your hat in the ring for mayor?
Well, I'm not really happy with the administration's performance in the last 4 years as far as operating the city, the tax increases, the way they're operating the police department, the amount of information that's given to residents that need help, and certainly most of all economic development in the city.
Okay, so you're a business owner here in town, a contractor. How do you feel that would help you in terms of running the city if elected?
Well, as a resident and a business owner, I think I'm more in tune with our current mayor to what the state of the economy is. Dealing with business for us is, in most businesses, is probably the worst it has been in years. So, I mean, we have to remain viable and competitive. We have to take austerity measures, which the city certainly hasn't. You know, we have to watch our spending. You have to watch who you hire. You have to cut expenses, and the city's not doing any of that. Well, they're doing it the easy way by raising taxes and fees and water and sewer.
So, what would you do different if elected?
Well, you first have to look at your operations of your city staff. You have to make sure they're productive and efficient. You have to look at outsourcing to see when it's more economical to outsource or when it's more economical to do it yourself. You have to make sure that proper bidding procedures are followed when the city does bid out for products or services. You know, that's a start right there.
Now, the other thing I know that you've talked about is the entranceways to the city. Can you talk a little bit about that? You have some issues with the entrances into Crest Hill from other communities.
Well, that's part of my goal for economic development, and I could talk about that. Well, excuse me. Economic development in Crest Hill's lag behind Romeoville and Joliet, certainly. But to encourage economic development, there's a lot of things we have to start with. First of them is the basics. We have to clean up the gateways to our city. We have a lot of abandoned buildings, non-conforming businesses, businesses with code violations, and simply empty lots with piles of garbage on them. I mean, that doesn't give a visitor or a prospective investor in Crest Hill a good impression of Crest Hill when they come through our city. We need to clean that up. Number two, we need to update our city website to include census data, demographics, traffic counts, a zoning map of the city. When investors research a city they want to come to, all that information should be available on the website, and we don't have any of that information.
So in terms of backing up just a bit here on the abandoned buildings and such, now what would be your plan for getting these areas cleaned up, these gateways as you call them to the city, with these abandoned buildings and such?
Well, one building we have long abandoned, probably 20 years on Broadway Street. It used to be part of the Sealer Industries. The state of Illinois bought it because it was too close to the Broadway Street right away. We need to contact the state and say, hey, can you give us some money to tear this building down, give her this eyesore, or you guys do it. The state recently, last year, gave the city of Joliet $32 million to start a transportation center in Joliet. I don't see no reason why they can't give us or contract with themselves directly. I estimate probably $20,000–$25,000 to tear the building down and clear it out of there. I mean, it's falling apart anyway. Going by Broadway Street can see that.
Okay, so other things you had mentioned in terms of the police department, and is there in terms of protecting the citizens, you had some issues on that as well?
Yes, I do. believe in community-based policing. That is where you have the maximum amount of police officers on the street and not in the office. Currently at Crest Hill we have 6 of our 26 officers in the office Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, some hours like that. We have a chief, we have 2 deputy chiefs, we have 2 investigators, and we have an evidence officer. Now I could maybe swallow that a little better if the hours of these officers were spread out, but they're all the same hours. The city recently hired 2 police officers, but they're not on the street yet. They're in the academy. So I'm not going to count them. The current mayor is going to say we have 28 officers, and that's not true. Until they pass the academy, they pass their state certification test for policemen, and they pass their probation period with Crest Hill. They're not on the force. So right now we have 26 officers. 6 of them are in the office Monday through Friday during day shift.
And you're saying they should be out on the street. There should be more on the street.
There should be on the street. Now, attending a work session on the 5-year planning, the police chief presented to the city council, he actually wants to create 2 more administrative positions and put them in the office, so that would be a total of 8. So the 2 officers we have in the academy right now would simply, by the time they get on the street, which would probably earliest be September of this year, 2013, they'll simply replace the 2 officers taken off the street and put back in the office. You know, we're still going to have the same number of officers on the street. And community-based policing is important for any municipality because you want officers on the street making contact with the citizens, developing relationships with the residents. Because the reason why is something happens, you want a citizen is more likely to contact an officer he knows personally than an officer he doesn't know at all. So you want to develop these relationships with the residents to improve, you know, crime prevention and help solve cases on the street.
Okay. So the last question I have for you, Pete, is you were on the Plan Commission for 6 years, was it?
Yes.
So how do you feel that that experience will help you if elected as mayor?
Well, Planning Commission, like any other board, whether school board or city council, you have to work together as a group. A lot of people make the mistake of, you know, they're going to get on a city council or a school board and they're going to change the world, and that's not the way it works. You have to work with the group as a whole. If you feel something's important enough, you have to present the facts. You have to be able to persuade the rest of the group to see your point of view. And so it helps give you experience working together as a group. I also gain experience in working with zoning changes, variances, special uses. I've been to several seminars sponsored by CMAP to give you guidance and more education on urban planning, which I think is important, certainly as a mayor.
Okay. And so, so that, I guess that all ties in then with your plans for economic development. Also, you had talked about working on ways to make the city of Crest Hill more open to businesses when they do come before the city council and go through all the different, jump through all the hoops that they have to jump through. Did you have some issues with the way that currently is set up now, or?
Well, it's expensive for a business to come to Crest Hill. You have to pay a filing fee to get heard before the Plan Commission. If it's a variance, you have to bring a court reporter. You have to bring a lawyer, and you have to pay another fee to get in front of the city council, and also your lawyer. So it's an expensive process if you're seeking, especially like a special use. And a lot of people in this economic time simply don't have the money to do that, and they'll go somewhere else where it's cheaper to, set up a business in another city. The city offers no incentives right now. Getting back to incentives, Rockdale, Joliet, Romeoville, Lockport, years ago they joined the Des Plaines River Valley what's the term I'm using, enterprise zone.
Mm.
Crest Hill never joined that. What that enterprise zone does is give businesses locating here, would give them state tax incentives, so it won't affect Crest Hill at all. But Crest Hill never did that. We could trade up, we could try to set up a free trade zone. We have 300 acres of it going to be soon available to the city of Crest Hill. That would give incentives to manufacturers to build here in Crest Hill manufacturing plants. We need to protect that land on Stateville land from encroachment by other government entities that would remove that property from the property tax base. You know, for example, the Will County government has been toying around with years for taking 40 acres to build a centralized 911 system center there, and that would remove 40 acres from property tax base. You could get the Will County Forest Preserve coming in there, Lockport Park District, you know, any one of numerous government entities, and remove that from the property tax rolls. We need to lobby with the state to get Crest Hill on a checklist of approvals before any of those other government entities would be able to purchase that property. I think we should have a say-so in that, since that affects our tax base also.
Great. Well, that's really all I have for you today. And I'd like to thank you for meeting with us, and I wish you luck in your bid for mayor.
All right, thank you, Rex.
Thank you.